read. Forgive your neighbor's injustice. Then when you pray, your own sins will be forgiven. A reading from the book of Sirach. Wrath and anger are hateful things, yet the sinner hugs them tight. The vengeful will suffer the Lord's vengeance, for he remembers their sins in detail. Forgive your neighbor's injustice. Then when you pray, your own sins will be forgiven. Could anyone nourish anger against another and expect healing from the Lord? Could anyone refuse mercy to another like himself? Can he seek pardon for his own sins? If one who is but flesh cherishes wrath, who will forgive his sins? Remember your last days. Set enmity aside. Remember death and decay, and cease from sin. Think of the commandments. Hate not your neighbor. Remember the Most High covenant, and overlook faults. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Second reading. Whether we live or die, we are the Lord's. A reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Romans. Brothers and sisters, none of us lives for oneself, and no one dies for oneself. For if we live for the Lord, and if we die for the Lord. So then, whether we live or die, we are the Lord's. For this is why Christ died and came to life, that he might be Lord of both the dead and the living. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
brother sins against me, how often must I forgive? As many as 7 times? Jesus answered, I say to you, not 7 times, but 77 times. That is why the kingdom of heaven may be likened to a king who decided to settle accounts with his servants. When he began the accounting, a debtor was brought before him who owed him a large amount of money. Since he had no way to pay it back, his master ordered him to be sold, along with his wife, his children, all of his property, in payment of the debt. At that, the servant fell down and did homage and said, Please, be patient with me and I will pay you back in full. Moved to compassion, the master of that servant let him go and forgave him the loan. When the servant had left, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him a much smaller amount. He seized him and he started to choke him, demanding, Pay me back what you owe. Falling to the knees, his fellow servant begged him, Be patient with me and I will pay you back. But he refused. Instead, he had the fellow servant put into prison until he had paid back the debt. Now, when his fellow servants saw what had happened, they were deeply disturbed and went to their master and reported the whole affair. His master summoned him and said to him, You wicked servant, I forgave you your entire debt because you begged to me. Should you not have had pity on your fellow servant as I had pity on you? Then in anger, his master handed him over to the torturers until he could pay back the whole debt. So will my heavenly Father do to you, unless each of you forgives your brother from your heart. The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.